Yeah, yeah. You're taking no responsibility over 8 billion ways to play. You're saying that there is a right and wrong way, where magic is walking life through our own play. The written pages of our mind, the characters in our story, and I believe about life's hard grind. You're taking no responsibility over 8 billion ways to play. You're saying that there is a right and wrong way, where magic is walking life through our own play. The written pages of our mind, the characters in our story, and our belief about life's hard grind. You're taking no, yeah, taking no responsibility over 8 billion ways to play. You're saying that there is a right and wrong way. The fight with life itself is not the only way to survive, knowing life only meets us in how we arrive. Yeah, yeah. You're taking no responsibility over 8 billion ways to play. You're saying that there is a right and wrong way. Over 8 billion ways to play. Add them all up and divide them by us all, and get the average as it falls, so there is no one to blame today. You're taking no responsibility. Billion ways to play. Oh, you're saying that there is a right and wrong way. And oh, you're saying that there is a right and wrong way. And that over 8 billion ways to play, you're saying that there is a right and wrong way.
8 billion. Let's just start with that number.
Right.
If you really try to sit with it for a second, I mean, it's practically impossible to visualize.
Oh, totally.
If you counted one person every single second, it would take you over 250 years just to get through the population currently walking around on this rock.
Right.
8 billion people.
It creates a kind of a cognitive crash, doesn't it? The brain just isn't wired to comprehend that level of scale.
No.
We're tribal creatures. We can handle a village of, what, 150, maybe a town? But 8 billion, it's just noise.
Exactly. It's white noise. But here's the question that keeps nagging at me, and it's the one we're really going to wrestle with today. Does that number mean there are 8 billion distinctly different ways to experience life? Or, despite that massive scale, are we all just running the same, like 3 or 4 scripts over and over again?
And that is the confrontation, right? We tend to think our way, our specific routine, our values, our anxieties is the way. We think our reality is the objective reality. But statistically, that's
No.
just impossible.
And to help us get our heads around this, we're looking at something a little unconventional today.
Yeah.
Usually we're dissecting, a white paper on behavioral economics or a big historical biography.
Right.
Today we are doing a deep dive into a set of lyrics, specifically a song called 8 Billion Ways to Play by Alison McLean.
And I'm really glad we're doing this, because sometimes poetry or lyrics can act like a very dense zip file of philosophy.
That's a great way to put it.
They compress these massive, sprawling ideas into very few words. And this piece, it isn't just a catchy folk song. It really reads like a manifesto on agency, conflict, and the psychological traps we build for ourselves.
I have to admit, when I first read the title 8 Billion Ways to Play, I felt this immediate sense of relief. It sounds so light, right? Like
Yeah.
life is supposed to be a game, not a chore. It implies fun.
That's the initial hook, yes. It invites you in with this promise of playfulness. But as we dig into the text, you'll see it's actually a pretty rigorous critique.
And it's not just do whatever you want. It challenges the listener to look at why they cling to rules. It suggests that what we call serious living, the stress, the grind, the judgment, that might actually be an avoidance of reality, not an engagement with it.
That is a big claim.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is to unpack that tension.
Okay.
The tension between the rules we're told to follow and the infinite possibilities, the 8 billion possibilities that are actually available to us.
Precisely. It's about the difference between playing a sandbox and riding a railroad track.
Right. One is open, the other is fixed.
Yeah.
Before we get into the weeds, I want to ask you, the listener, a question, and I want you to keep this in the back of your mind as we talk. Are you playing your own game? Or are you just reading lines from a script someone else wrote for you? Because according to this text, the difference between the two is the difference between being alive and just existing.
And that distinction, it starts with a very provocative, almost counterintuitive idea about responsibility. Let's go right there. This is the first thing that jumped out at me because, honestly, it made me a little defensive at first.
I can see why.
The chorus says, "You're taking no responsibility. Over 8 billion ways to play." You're saying that there is a right and wrong way.
It's a fascinating inversion, isn't it?
It feels backwards.
Yeah.
Because normally, if I tell you I'm following the rules, if I say I'm doing the right thing and avoiding the wrong thing, I feel like I'm being a responsible adult.
That's what we teach kids.
Exactly. Follow the rules, be responsible.
Yeah.
But this text seems to be saying that strict adherence to right and wrong is actually irresponsible.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
It is a paradox, but let's look at the logic.
Yeah.
The text links the insistence on a singular right and wrong way directly to a lack of responsibility. You're taking no responsibility. Why?
Okay.
Because if there is only one right way, a manual, a commandment, a social norm, you don't have to think. You don't have to choose.
Okay, so I'm just following a recipe. I'm painting by numbers.
Exactly. You are outsourcing your judgment to an external standard. I did it because the rule said so.
Right.
That's obedience, not responsibility. True responsibility, the text argues, is acknowledging that there are 8 billion ways to play. That means every morning you wake up, you have to decide which way is yours. You can't just point to the rule book and say, the book made me do it.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. And it's terrifying. It's the existential dread of freedom. You have to navigate this infinite landscape of choice without a map. If you acknowledge that your neighbor's way is valid and your boss's way is valid and your way is valid, suddenly there's no right way to hide behind. You have to stand on your own 2 feet and own your choices, knowing full well you might just be making it up as you go along.
So relying on a binary, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, is actually a safety blanket.
It's a mechanism to avoid the complexity of the human experience. It's cognitive efficiency. If I say my way is the right way, I invalidate the other 7,999,999 ways.
Right. I don't have to deal with them.
You don't have to engage with them. You don't have to understand why someone lives differently. You can just judge them as wrong. The text argues that this is an abdication. You aren't being responsible for the 8 billion ways. You're ignoring them in favor of a simplified black and white cartoon of the world.
That is heavy. It really flips the script on moral superiority.
It does.
It suggests that the person pointing the finger and saying, you're doing it wrong, isn't being moral. They're just being lazy.
Okay.
They're avoiding the hard work of understanding that everyone is playing a different game.
And notice the phrasing. You're taking no responsibility. Over 8 billion ways to play. It implies that true responsibility involves holding space for that diversity. It's accepting the chaos of humanity rather than trying to force it into a binary box.
So it's easier to say this is the right way than to admit this is just my way and I hope it works out.
Precisely. Because if it's just your way, you might be wrong. Or worse, you might be irrelevant to someone else. But if it's the way, you're safe. You're sanctioned.
So we use rules to protect our egos. But if we strip that away, if we admit it's just our way, where does that way even come from? Is it actually ours? Or did we just inherit it?
Which brings us to the verses. This is where the imagery gets really cinematic for me.
Yeah.
The lyrics mention the written pages of our mind, the characters in our story, and our belief about life's hard grind.
Those 3 lines are doing a lot of heavy lifting. Written pages, characters, belief. It sounds like we're actors in a movie we didn't write. When I read the characters in our story, I just imagine us putting on costumes every day. The boss, the parent, the rebel, the good citizen. We're acting out these roles.
We do. Psychologists might call these schemas or scripts. We enter a situation, say a dinner party or a boardroom, and we unconsciously download the script for that situation. Okay, I am the employee, I must sit quietly and nod, or I am the provider, I must look stressed and busy to validate my worth.
Oh, that last one hits home. The idea that we have to look busy. The text mentions our belief about life's hard grind.
Yes. Our belief about life's hard grind. I love that the author inserts the word belief there.
Right.
It's not the reality of life's hard grind, it's a belief.
That stops me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Because the grind feels very real. The emails, the bills, the traffic, the sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Or is the song saying that struggle isn't real? That we're imagining the rent being due?
No, the friction is real, gravity is real, bills are real, but the grind, the narrative that life is a crushing weight that we must suffer through, that is the belief. We often view the struggle as an objective fact of the universe. You know, life is hard, then you die. But the text frames it as a written page of our mind. It's a narrative construct. We tell ourselves, life is hard, therefore I must grind to survive.
Like the whole hustle culture mindset. If you aren't suffering, you aren't working hard enough. If you aren't exhausted, you're lazy.
Exactly. We wear the grind like a badge of honor. Look how tired I am. I must be a good person. But the text challenges that. It says that's just a character you're playing. That's the sufferer role.
Yeah.
And if it's a script,
It can be rewritten.
it can be rewritten.
This is where the concept of magic comes in. The text says, where magic is walking life through our own play. Now, I have to be honest, in a philosophical context, the word magic can feel a bit fluffy, a bit woo-woo.
Swear, I get that.
But here, it feels punchy. It doesn't feel like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. What is the magic referring to?
In this context, magic seems to be synonymous with agency or awareness. It's the spark of consciousness that realizes, wait a minute, I'm the one walking through this. If the grind is a belief, then magic is the ability to suspend that belief and choose our own play instead.
It's the moment the actor looks at the camera and breaks the fourth wall.
Yes. It's realizing that the written pages of our mind are just pages. They aren't cages. You can turn the page, or you can write a new one. The magic is the realization that you are the author, not just the character. You aren't an NPC, a non-player character in your own life.
I love that. Magic is walking life through our own play. It implies movement. It implies we aren't stuck. But, okay, let's play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
Let's say I accept that. I want to rewrite my script. I want to stop grinding and start playing. But the world is still the world, right? My boss is still a jerk. The economy is still shaky. My commute is still an hour long. How does this text deal with the fact that life sometimes punches you in the face?
This brings us to what I think is the most profound mechanic described in these lyrics.
Okay.
It's in the verse that says, "The fight with life itself is not the only way to survive, knowing life only meets us in how we arrive."
Life only meets us in how we arrive. I underline that 3 times. That is a bumper sticker, a tattoo, and a philosophy lecture all in one.
It is the pivot point of the entire argument. Let's break down the first part.
Mm-hmm.
The fight with life itself is not the only way to survive. Think about the grind narrative we just discussed. What is the central metaphor of the grind?
It's battle, struggle. I'm fighting to keep my head above water. I'm battling my demons. I'm killing it at work. I'm conquering the market. It's all war terminology.
Exactly. We are conditioned, evolutionarily and culturally, to believe that survival requires a fight, that the world is hostile and we must conquer it.
Right.
The text challenges that directly. It says fighting is not the only way. It doesn't deny that you can fight, but it rejects it as the only option.
And then it gives the alternative mechanism. Life only meets us in how we arrive.
This is a concept of mirroring. In psychology, we might talk about projective identification or just the simple feedback loop of behavior.
Yeah.
The text is suggesting that the external world, life, is not a static thing that happens to you.
Okay.
It is a dynamic response to your state of being.
Can we unpack that with a real-world example?
Yeah.
Because it sounds almost metaphysical. I create my reality type stuff.
Yeah. It's actually very practical. Think about a difficult conversation you need to have. Maybe you need to confront a friend or a colleague about a mistake.
Okay, yeah.
If you spend 3 days dreading it, rehearsing arguments in the shower, building up your defenses, how do you arrive at that conversation?
I arrive tight, defensive, shoulders up to my ears. My tone is probably clipped. I'm ready to snap.
Exactly. You arrive ready for a fight. And because you are projecting fight, the other person, consciously or unconsciously, picks up on that immediately. Their mirror neurons fire, they get defensive, they put their armor on, and suddenly you are in a fight.
And I walk away saying, see, I knew it would be a fight. I was right.
Right. You validated your own prediction. Life met you in the fight mode because that's how you arrived. You projected a battlefield, so reality gave you a battle.
Wow.
But what if you arrived differently? What if you rewrote that written page before you walked in the room? What if you arrived with curiosity, with play?
Then the interaction changes completely.
Yeah.
The whole energy shifts. If I come in saying, hey, I'm confused about this, can we figure it out? Instead of, why did you do this to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other person doesn't need to defend themselves.
Life meets you there, too. This is the connection back to belief. If you believe life is a hard grind, you will arrive bracing for impact. And life will give you that impact.
Right.
The text is arguing that we have much more control over the feedback loop than we think. We dictate the terms of the engagement by how we arrive.
So it's not about changing the external circumstances first. It's not, I'll stop fighting when things get easier.
No.
It's, things will get easier when I stop showing up for a fight.
Correct. The magic is changing your arrival state before the world changes. It's walking through our own play rather than the fight. It is. It's unilateral disarmament. And that takes immense courage.
That is incredibly empowering, but also it eliminates my favorite pastime, complaining.
It does.
Because again, it puts the responsibility back on me. I can't blame the world for being mean if the world is just reflecting my own attitude back at me.
It dissolves the victimhood narrative, yes. If life only meets us in how we arrive, then we have to take a hard look at how we've been showing up. Are we showing up as a warrior, a victim, or a player?
And speaking of dissolving blame, that leads us perfectly to the mathematical portion of the lyrics, which I did not expect in a song about play.
Yes, the sudden appearance of math class, add them all up and divide them by us all and get the average as it falls.
It's such a striking shift in tone. We go from magic and play to addition and division. It sounds like a statistical formula for humanity.
I think that's exactly what it is. The author asks us to take these 8 billion ways to play, all these diverse, chaotic, contradictory human experiences, and add them all up.
Right.
Look at the sum total of human existence, the saints, the sinners, the grinders, the players, the kings, the paupers.
And then divide them by us all.
That's the averaging. It's the law of large numbers applied to the human soul. If you zoom out far enough, if you look at the collective species from the perspective of the moon, the individual distinctions of right and wrong just disappear. The extremes cancel each other out. You're left with just us, the human average.
And the result of this math problem, the lyrics say, so there is no one to blame today.
No one to blame. This connects back to the very beginning. Remember the right and wrong way. Blame requires a binary. To blame someone, you have to say, you deviated from the right way. You have to point at the standard and say, you failed.
But if there are 8 billion ways,
Then there is no deviation. There is just variation. If you look at the average as it falls, you realize that everyone is just acting out their characters. Everyone is struggling with their written pages. Everyone is arriving the best way they know how.
so it's not saying that bad things don't happen. It's not letting people off the hook for cruelty.
Yeah.
It's saying that when you understand the mechanics of the system, the scripts, the beliefs, the mirroring blame becomes a useless tool.
Completely. Blame is an emotional indulgence. It feels good in the moment to say it's your fault. But the text suggests a radical acceptance. If you understand that the person yelling at you in traffic is trapped in their belief about the grind, that they are suffering through a script they didn't write, you don't have to take it personally.
You can't really blame them.
You see them as part of the great average.
That feels like the ultimate release. We spend so much energy blaming politicians, blaming our bosses, blaming our parents for how they raised us, blaming ourselves for not being better. It's exhausting.
It is the hard grind in action. Blame is heavy. It's a sack of rocks we carry around, and the text says, do the math, add it all up, divide by all of us. The result is just humanity, playing out its 8 billion games.
Wow.
When you see it that way, the urge to blame evaporates. You're left with the magic of your own play and the freedom to let others play theirs.
It really does circle back to that core tension we started with. The tension between the rigid one way and the infinite 8 billion ways.
The one way is the way of the fight, the grind, and the blame. It feels safe because it has rules, but it's a trap. It's a cage we build for ourselves.
And the 8 billion ways?
That's the way of responsibility. It's the way of acknowledging that you are writing the pages of your mind. It's understanding that life is a mirror, meeting you exactly how you arrive. It's scary because there's no map, but it's the only way to actually play the game.
You know, when we started, I thought 8 billion ways to play was just a catchy title. But now it feels like a challenge. It's demanding that we wake up.
It is. It's demanding that we stop sleepwalking through the hard grind narrative. It asks us to look at our lives and ask, is this a tragedy I'm suffering through or a game I'm choosing to play?
And the answer to that question changes everything about how we wake up tomorrow morning.
It changes the character we bring to the breakfast table. It changes the energy we bring to our work. It changes how we look at strangers on the subway.
So let's bring this all together. We've looked at the source text, 8 billion ways to play. We've seen how it deconstructs our obsession with being right, how that obsession is actually a fear of responsibility. We've seen how it exposes the grind as a mental construct, a belief, rather than a reality.
And we've learned the mechanism of arrival, that we get what we give, that if we stop fighting, life starts fighting us.
And finally, we've seen the mathematics of unity, that when you view the whole picture, blame becomes obsolete. We're all just averaging out.
It's a lot to take in from a song, but that's the power of these deep dives. You find these nuggets of wisdom in places you might not expect. The wisdom here isn't about learning a new fact. It's about unlearning a constraint.
Yeah.
It's about realizing the cage door was open the whole time.
So here is where we leave you today. The lyrics say, magic is walking life through our own play. That implies you have the power to rewrite the scene. You aren't just the actor. You're the director, the screenwriter, and the lead role.
And the critic, if you choose to be.
Okay.
Or you can fire the critic.
I like that. Fire the critic. So if you stopped trying to get life right, if you stopped trying to win the award for best rule follower according to someone else's scorecard, and started treating your life as your own specific, unique game, I want you to ask yourself this. What character would you stop playing today?
Is it the victim, the martyr, the perfectionist, the cynic?
And more importantly, who would you introduce in the next chapter starting tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because if there are 8 billion ways to play, you haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible for you.
That's the real question. How will you arrive?
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Catch you next time.